Hello, we are live tonight. Uh, yeah, I know. I have baby Asa here with me because he is a stage 5 clinger at this point. I know. It's okay. And he will not let me put him down right now. It's just this little phase he's going through. You don't have to scream at the camera. You don't have to scream. If you want them to see, you can say hi. He's a little sleepy. And he was just eating. So hopefully he's done. Hopefully he'll be fine for the video. Right? All right. He thinks he's talking now. But okay. Welcome to tonight's chat, which is probably not going to be that long just because I'm still recuperating from yesterday. And you all may still be recuperating from yesterday too. So you can't scream or no one's going to hear me. Come on, turn this way. Okay, he's not going to turn around. So yes. I still want to be consistent with making these Friday lives. So we're going to be talking about how long you should breastfeed, when to stop breastfeeding, what's appropriate as far as like the age that a child should breastfeed and all of that stuff. So let's see where to start. My friend. You can't do this, my friend. Come here. Can I turn you around? Can I turn you around? He's so nosy too. He's so nosy. Like I'm trying to turn him around, but he doesn't even want me to do that. All right, let's see if we can make it through this live. If not, I'm gonna have to find another solution because I was just gonna come down here and do it, and maybe I still should try putting him upstairs in the bed. I don't know, because he is tired, but he's gonna fight it. So let's just see how far we get. So I saw this. I know the post is about a year old, but I seen it recently. So I don't know if it was reposted or if it was like an updated article, because I know the first time I heard about her breastfeeding, and this is Ice-T's wife, for those who are unsure of who I'm talking about, Coco Austin. And she has one daughter, and her daughter is, from the thing I saw, was 5.5 at the time. So she's gotta be at least 6 years old now. And she was saying that she still is breastfeeding. And I remember when she said it, and it was in, tabloids and all that stuff. And so she received so much backlash from saying that she was still breastfeeding her child, who, like I said at the time, was 5.5. Now, I have not seen anything that said that she has stopped breastfeeding. But obviously, a 5-year-old, 5.5-year-old, they're walking, they're talking. Most are going to school and all of that stuff. So a lot of the comments were saying that she's too old to be breastfeeding. A lot of them were saying that the mom is trying to fulfill some kind of sexual pleasure from it, or that it's weird, that it's creepy. What were some other things that I've seen? Like I said, most of it was negative. Especially because here in the U.S., most moms are not breastfeeding for that long. I mean, if you could go to one, I mean, that's doing great. But a lot of people don't do that much longer than one. But the World Health Organization, and I want to say ACOG also as well, recommends breastfeeding for at least 2 years of life. So that's while a baby, that's past the age of a baby's infancy. So yeah, a lot of backlash from that, and a lot of different opinions, like I said, and mostly negative. Now, me personally, the longest I breastfed was 16 months. Let me give him something to play with. Well, hopefully he'll calm down. Here, you can have this, bud. The longest I breastfed was 16 months. That was with my oldest, Saya. And that's really because, so my goal going in was 2 years. That's how long I wanted to do. And before I had kids, I had planned to space them a little bit better. So I figured, 2 years is what was recommended anyway. I think maybe only the World Health Organization was recommending that. But now a lot of other, parenting, like a lot of of resources for parenting and things like that are all on board. We're saying 2 years. So that's what's recommended anyway. And that's just what I personally had in mind. And I was, well on the way with that. But I got pregnant at 11 months postpartum, I think. So because I was pregnant, it wasn't recommended that I breastfeed while I was pregnant because my second pregnancy was considered a high-risk pregnancy. But I didn't let that deter me from breastfeeding, and I didn't have any issues with breastfeeding while I was pregnant. I had a little bit of soreness, and that was like one of my first signs that I knew I was pregnant. But I continued to breastfeed. The only reason I stopped breastfeeding, like I didn't run out of milk or anything like that, but the only reason I stopped is because I wanted a break, from breastfeeding my toddler and knowing that I had to breastfeed a newborn at least for a year. Because if nothing else, I wanted to breastfeed for a year. And I have done that with all of my kids so far. It's made that 1 year mark. So that's why I stopped. I think I stopped in like May. Let me see. May, June, July, August, September. Yeah, I think I stopped in May. She was 16 months, and I really was upset about it because I had wanted to go longer, and I kind of would have, but I didn't want to, breastfeed her and breastfeed a newborn as well. Like, I felt like that would be too much. Because she was still so young, and I didn't want her to be like, taking milk from the baby. I know that you can tandem nurse, and I have, seen other mothers do that, and it can be done, but I was not up for that as a challenge, and that's not something I wanted to do. So that's the reason why we stopped breastfeeding. So I had about a 4-month break before my next child was born to, adjust and all of that before I knew I had to breastfeed another child. So that's what I did with her. And my 2 children after that, I breastfed for a year. That was my personal goal. I made that goal, and then I was done. Right now, baby Asa is 8 months old, and I plan on at least going for a year with him. There's some other reasons why I stopped breastfeeding too. I may link that video if you're interested in seeing, just why I stopped breastfeeding with my third. But it wasn't because I didn't have enough milk, or my situation changed where I needed to stop breastfeeding or anything like that. It was other personal reasons, but that's why I stopped. This time around, I don't know how long I'm gonna go. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see on that. But but me personally, like, I just don't understand why so many people were up in arms about her breastfeeding her child at that age. Now, like I said, I know it's unconventional, especially for people, that live in the U.S. We just don't breastfeed that long. But I don't see why people care how long she's breastfeeding her child, because I feel like that's a personal decision when mom stops when she and baby are ready. Now, she's not a baby. She's a toddler. She's even a kid, if you want to say that. But I just think it's such a personal decision, and that, like with Saya, because I was forced to do it, or I felt like I was forced to do it, it really bothered me. And again, she was my first, so I had all these grand plans and schemes of how I wanted things to be. And then when it didn't turn out that way, or it didn't go that way, it really, really, really upset me. And of course, I was dealing with pregnancy hormones also as well, so I was already just really super emotional. But I remember crying, crying the last time I breastfed her, and I was just so sad. And I might have even apologized to her just because I wasn't ready, and I felt like she wasn't ready. But she did fine. Like, she did excellent. Like, it wasn't anything crazy. I definitely did it slow, though. I didn't just cut off cold turkey, which I definitely don't recommend if you are a breastfeeding mom out there. But she did fine. And I just feel like it's when mom and child are ready to end that. And I know I did remember reading in her article that she was saying that the reason she continues to do it is it's a bonding thing for her, which I get. I totally get that, because it is a big part of bonding. If you're breastfeeding, you kind of have that advantage, because not only is your baby getting nutrition from you, but they get that one-on-one support. They get that eye contact. They get there's just so many great benefits from breastfeeding, and it doesn't end when your child reaches a certain age. I think that's really something that we need to talk about a little bit more, because some people think that like the benefits or all the great things that we know about breastfeeding and the new things that we're still discovering about breastfeeding and at a certain age, and at 2 or in at 3 or whatever. But it doesn't. As long as mom continues to breastfeed, she still will have milk in her breast, and the baby is still, or the child is still getting all of those great antibodies, all those great nutrients, all those things that you can't find in formula, because breast milk is a living food. It's a living food. It's a changing food. It's specifically made and tailored to your baby or your child. And again, that's another reason why I stopped breastfeeding Saya, because I didn't want, like, I know infants need, or newborns need, a certain amount of fats, calories, and all that stuff versus what a toddler needs. So your breast milk will change based on the child you're breastfeeding, even the time of day that you're breastfeeding. It's just so much. It's very tailored to your child. So yeah, all those great things don't end just because it's your child's second birthday and now, your breast milk is nothing. No, that doesn't exist. So her child is still getting all that good stuff from mom, especially someone like her who has the money for, like, really good quality food. And I'm sure they eat pretty healthy. She seems like a woman who's, takes pride in her fitness or whatever. So she's still getting all that nutrients. And another thing that really bothers me with people being bothered about how long a woman breastfeeds is that people drink milk. Like, grown-ups drink milk. And I wasn't really a milk drinker before I had my children, but since I've had my children, I would never drink a cup of milk. Like, that's just, no. Like, you know what I mean? Because milk is made for baby cows, not humans. And I just don't understand how people in their heads can say, oh, that's nasty, or all these things about breastfeeding that people say. There's so much stigma around breastfeeding. And that's why I said I'm going to continue to talk about breastfeeding. I'm hoping that I'm making a dent in some of these belief systems out there. I'm hoping that I'm just opening some people's eyes to just some of the things that have been said about breastfeeding that's just not true, or it's fear-based, or it's not fact-based, or it's just a whole bunch of things that it just drives me crazy when I hear about breastfeeding. But that's another thing. Okay, so human breast milk is made for humans, okay? So it's completely fine for a 5-year-old to drink it. Like, what's the difference from her getting the milk out of her mom's breast versus buying milk in the store that was made for another species? Do you see what I mean? Like, it's just such a double standard. Like, and I don't understand it. And I know adults will drink a cup of milk. Like, I'm saying, I'm not one of those people. Milk really just doesn't... I don't really like to taste the texture of milk. Like, I'll eat things with milk products or whatever, but I'm not really a milk person. But I don't see how they don't see that that's okay. I don't see how they don't have a problem with that, but they have a problem with breast milk for babies. You know what I mean? Or breast milk for humans. So yeah, that's an issue in and of itself. And another thing is, I did see some people saying, just due to her age, so due to her being 5 and she can walk and talk. I know I've heard some moms, and it's funny when I hear it, when they're like, once that baby got teeth, I'm done breastfeeding. Or once that baby can walk over to me to get the breast, I'm done breastfeeding. Because to them in their mind, they're like, that's too old. You're doing things on your own now. And I totally get that. It is a challenge, definitely, feeding a toddler, or even feeding a baby that is active, like Asa now, he's, well, first of all, he's screaming at me. So he's now, sitting up and crawling, kind of scooting and all that stuff. And pretty soon he'll be walking and all that. But I'm still going to breastfeed until either one of us gets uncomfortable with breastfeeding. Okay, fine. You can be here. So yeah, I just don't feel like that should be a deterrent. Oh, what they were saying is about her breastfeeding from the breast, because she still does breastfeed from her breast. Asa, come on. And so, what was I saying? Oh, so they were saying, of course everybody made suggestions, like, why doesn't she just pump and put it in a cup? Or why doesn't she, well, I guess at 5, yeah, you would be pumping and putting it in a cup. This guy, he about to go on the floor. And I'm like, again, that's her choice. Not every mom wants to pump or likes pumping. And it's more work. It would be more work for the mom. And like for me, I don't like pumping. Now with Saya, I did have to pump because she was in the special care nursery for 7 weeks. So when she was born, that's where she was, and so I had to pump so she could get my breast milk. Come here, boy. While she was there. And then when she was there, when she was able to take feedings by the mouth, then, I fed from the breast. But yeah, that was my only time so far that I've had to pump, and I'm not a fan of it. And I'm naturally an overproducer, and pumping just kind of exacerbates that for me. It creates an overproduction, so it's just like it's not good for me. And she may be one of those women too. Maybe she tried pumping. This guy, and she didn't like it, or she didn't enjoy it, and that just didn't work for her and her child. So I just feel like in general we should be less judgmental of what parents do, what moms do, as long as it's not harming a child. Like, it's not harming her. And yeah, she could put it in a cup if she wanted to, but if that's her bonding time, if that's the way that her daughter is used to getting her milk, and like I said, it doesn't lose its nutrients, so she's still getting the calcium, she's still getting the protein, she's still getting her fats and carbohydrates, and it's not her only form. That was another thing I saw. Some people were like, she's eating steak now, so why? That would really tickle me. So why is she still on her mom's breast? And again, what's so different than someone, making themselves a plate of milk and cookies? Like, what's the difference? You know what I mean? That milk is for her. Her mom is making it for her. So as long as they both feel comfortable breastfeeding, then I say, more power to them. I personally wouldn't breastfeed a 5-year-old. I tried one time to breastfeed Saya, like after Matthias was born, and, breastfeeding was established and all that. And I tried to, I think it was her, breastfeed her. But by then, and it wasn't even that long. I want to say it was maybe 3 months after Matthias was born. But by then, I guess she hadn't been breastfeeding for maybe 7 months total. But they kind of lose, if a child doesn't breastfeed and then they try to pick it up again, they kind of lose the way to hold their lips to breastfeed. So I tried it a couple of times, because I did think about it, because she would ask me, whenever she saw me breastfeeding Matthias, she would ask to breastfeed. And for most part, I just told her no. But one time I was like, oh, all right, I'll try it. And then if she gets it, I guess I'll be feeding both of them. But she never got it. She never got the latch back. So that was that. But yeah, they were saying, if a baby can eat real food and stuff like that, then they shouldn't be breastfeeding. Now, breast milk, or at least until a baby's 6 months old, that is supposed to be their only source of nutrition until they are 1. Until they're, over the age of 1. Breast milk is still their main source of nutrition, but they can start eating solids, around that 6-month mark. So of course she is eating real food. Yes. You don't want me to hold you? You don't want to do this? I think he thinks he's talking. You're not talking. You're just screaming. So she is eating real food. Breast milk obviously is not her only thing. Like, if her mom was breastfeeding her and that was all she was getting at 5 years old, that would not be nutritionally enough for her. She still would need, whole food at that point. But she's not just getting just breast milk from her mom. She's getting, breast milk. She's getting regular food throughout the day. And then breast milk, she probably breastfeeds her before bed, or, when she's stressed out or something like that. I don't know how often they breastfeed. But yeah, as long as you breastfeed, your breast will still make milk. Even women who have, so say you breastfed your children and they're all grown or whatever, you can still relactate if you really, really, wanted to, or if you had a child around that was breastfeeding, and you let that child suckle for a period of time. If you're a breastfeeding mom, or if you breastfed in the past, milk will come back in. It would just take a little bit. It would take a while. And I'm not so sure for women maybe who never breastfed if they could do that. Maybe they could, but I'm not really that sure about that. And there was one other thing that I thought I wanted to mention. Oh yeah, about the breastfeeding. I just feel like, why do people care? If it doesn't work for you and your child, then that's fine. You know what I mean? Like, if that's not something that you would do, like I said, that's not something I would do. I don't know. I probably the longest I probably would maybe be 3, maybe 4. It just really depends. Like I have more children, so I just feel like because of me not pumping and all of that, I would be tied down just for a little too long. So I wouldn't go past a certain age. Like that wouldn't be my thing. And so I just don't understand why other people care if they're not going to do it. He is really putting on the show tonight. If that's just not their thing, it doesn't make it wrong. You know what I mean? If it's just not, you know, what you would do or how you would handle it. And not just when it goes to, or when it comes to breastfeeding, but a whole bunch of other of parenting things, or I guess, you know, controversial topics when it comes to parenting. I just feel like let's be a little bit less judgy about what other people do, and if it don't work for you, then it don't work for you. Then that's fine. But if it works for you, and that's what you want to do, and that's what you and your family want to do, or you know, you and your partner, you and your children, and that's what works, then that's fine too. So that's all I wanted to say, I think, about this topic. Let me know if you're watching, if you're a breastfeeding mom, okay, and you're watching, how do you feel specifically about this topic? Do you think there is an age that's too old? I know a woman, I know a woman who, you know, we talk about breastfeeding sometimes, and she tells me, now she also has 4 kids, but she told me that she breastfed her girls, but she didn't breastfeed her boys. And this isn't her first time telling me, and I do wonder why, but I haven't asked her. I feel like if she wanted to share the reason why, then she would tell me. But yeah, there's a lot of stigma, like I said, that goes with breastfeeding, about the age of breastfeeding, or, you know, why reasons why people breastfeed, or even like I was saying about the girl boy thing. Maybe, you know, she feels like she couldn't breastfeed the boys because that was nasty or something, but she had no problem breastfeeding the girls. Like I said, I don't know, but there's a lot of things. And then another thing I heard was that, you know, she was sexualizing it, that she was getting some kind of sexual pleasure from breastfeeding her 5-year-old. And I'm like, these comments are definitely coming from people who've never breastfed before, because it's like, that doesn't even make sense. That doesn't even make sense. She is doing what she feels is best, for her and her child, I'm sure. And I'm sure that's what all breastfeeding moms, that's what all good moms are doing at the end of the day. So let me know, like I said, if you're watching, what do you feel about this topic? How long do you think is too long to breastfeed? How long have you breastfed? How long would you breastfeed? Yeah, let me know. We can get a good discussion going. But as you can see, I gotta get Mr. in the bed, because he's ready to go, and he's just gonna keep on acting crazy. And we don't want that, do we? We don't want that. So say good night. Boo, 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 boo. And I promise y'all, I'm gonna try to get this together. I'm gonna try to find a good or better routine. I may have to change the time, I'm thinking. Like, I mean, on a normal night when I'm not filming or something, or where I'm not doing a live, he would be asleep right now. But it just seems like every time I say that I'm going to do one, or every time I come do one, then he wakes up. And I'm gonna try to find something else that works. But yes, that is all for tonight. I kind of thought this was a funny topic. I did want to talk about it. I think I mentioned everything. Let's just judge less. And if it don't apply, then let it ride. Okay. I hope you all have a good weekend. I hope you had a good day. I hope you had a good holiday yesterday. And I will see you in my next video or my next live soon. Okay. Good night. Bye.